you a brief open and then we'll go to questions.
Hope everybody's doing well. I'd like to welcome everybody to this year's SEC meetings. I think this is my 21st year in the league, 19 times the Destin, so we at least know our way around here. I'd also like to make mention to Memorial Day is a time for us to honor, all those who have worked and sacrificed to maintain, our freedom and quality of life, and I'd like to thank them for their service. And this always sort of marks the time when summer begins with your players. Our players reported first day of summer school, start working out. So this kind of signifies the first time you really have your entire team together, and everybody's going to start working toward the common goal with the season. And as we do in coaching, that's always something that you prepare for year round, but also look forward to when you get your group together and everybody starts working toward that purpose. So I know there's a lot of issues that we're going to discuss here this year, and as we always do, we try to have positive input in all those areas for the betterment of college football. And that's always been my major concern. So with that, questions?
Coach Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. What evidence did you have that Texas A&M bought its entire recruiting class?
I didn't really say that anybody did anything wrong.
Well, you said they bought their recruiting class.
I didn't say anybody did anything wrong, okay? And I've said everything I'm going to say about this, but I think that I guess the point, and I should have never mentioned any individual institutions. I said that before, but some kind of uniform name, image, and likeness standard that supports some kind of equitable national competition, I think is really important in college athletics and college football. And we've always had that, whether it's equal scholarships, equal Alston money, whatever it might be. And so that's kind of point one. Point two is we need some kind of transparency in name, image, and likeness deals, to verify that, players are doing what they need to do to have the opportunity to, make money in name, image, and likeness. And believe me, I'm all for players making as much as they can make, okay? But I also think that, we've got to have some uniform, transparent way to do that. Our players did extremely well last year in name, image, and likeness because they got agents, they had representation, they had people who wanted them to actually endorse something for them, and they did very well, and it's public record, and you can see how well they did. And I think that also student athletes need some protection from unfair name, image, and likeness representation or deals. You could have a player, and we've had this happen to us in the past, that thinks he's signing one thing and he signs something else and gives up his freedom of choice in the future as to who represents him. We have no oversight, right now for players, when it comes to this. And, I also think that, boosters, should continue to be precluded from recruiting, including use of, name, image, and likeness offers, prior to, enrollment. So, that's basically, what I have to say about, some of the things that I think we need to do from a college football perspective. This is not about Alabama. This is not about what's best for us. I just hope that we can sort of put some guardrails, on all this. I read something in the Wall Street Journal that said, what we've done in college football, and I'm paraphrasing here, is put a canoe on top of our SUV to go to the lake, didn't tie it down, took off, and just hoped for the best. And I think that's, kind of where we are right now. And I think it's a great thing for players. you know, to have the opportunity. They've always been able to work. I've always said I've encouraged, you know, this whole name, image, and likeness thing for, you know, players to be able to earn money. So it's just something that I think we need to make sure that we have a uniform way to have equitable competition. It's transparent, we protect the student athlete, and, you know, boosters have never been involved in recruiting, and hopefully, you know, we'll not allow that to happen relative to this circumstance.
Is Jimbo lying when he says that that they didn't do anything
I have no
to
problem
buy
with
their?
Jimbo. I have no problem with Jimbo at all.
Okay, let's move on here.
You've long been vocal about playing more conference games. Do you support the 9-game schedules or a model that you prefer the 3-6 or?
Well, you know, I've always been for playing more conference games. I've always been for improving, you know, the college schedule, trying to eliminate, you know, some of these games that you play that, you know, fans, players, supporters are not really interested in. I think the 9-game format is a start, you know, in that direction. But, you know, what is the best model? I think that's the issue. You know, what is the best model? That's number one. And number two is, are other conferences doing the same thing? Are they going to play more conference games? Are they going to, you know, have the same kind of competitive balance? This always goes back to competitive balance. And when you have conferences making all these decisions, sometimes you lose a little bit of that. So, you know, if we're gonna play 9 conference games and we're gonna end up playing probably 5 minimal, you know, top 15 teams in the country, and I'm talking about all of us, not just me, our team, how's that gonna compare to other conferences? All right, and then what kind of opportunity, you could have a great team and lose 2 games in our conference, and somebody else get in the playoffs because they went undefeated, but didn't have the same opportunity to play as many good teams. So I think all these things need to be taken into consideration, but those are probably the 2 most significant, you know, to me. And it's a tough act for the conference to try to get it, you know, where it's equal in terms of whatever the 3-6, whatever the model is.
In the back, Rob.
Nick, to circle back to the name, image, and likeness for a second, do you think there's a possibility of some type of solution coming from the SEC? In other words, we're moving away from the NCAA sort of being able to fix this. Do you think there might be a conference level solution for this? Is that even possible? Is that even being discussed?
Well, I think right now, everybody's looking for solutions. I think every conference is looking for a solution. I would assume that the NCAA continues to look for solutions. And again, I think the solution is, how do we still have equitable national competition, you know, which has always been the goal. And I also think that, you know, we all want to continue to benefit the player. I'm certainly not opposed to, you know, benefiting the player every way we can. But I also, in a model where the player can continue to stay focused on what they need to do to create value for their future, if that makes sense. You know, like you're going to college to prepare yourself for the day you can't play football, all right, to see if you can develop a career as a football player and play at the next level. So there's a certain amount of focus that needs to, you know, stay in place for you to be the best version of yourself in doing that. So I think every conference, conference commissioners, university presidents, I think, you know, everybody's trying to come up with the best possible solution, and I think there's a lot of good people there that have a lot of good ideas, and hopefully we'll be able to get something done. But I also think that, you know, there may be some reason for, you know, the federal government to create some standard. I mean, if you start looking, as soon as you start paying people, and as soon as you don't have contracts, then look at the NFL model. You know, that they have contracts, they have free agency, Players Association. The Players Association monitors the agents, so players are protected. So, you know, a lot of these things just don't exist and never really needed to exist in college football. But as soon as you start paying people, or people start earning money, then you gotta start thinking about how do we need to control those things in a way that creates uniform balance for everybody.
Two more, Mike, and then Andy.
Coach, I guess 4 years ago, you stood in this room and warned us or told us that free agency could be coming with transfer rules being discussed. How have you changed how you manage and coach your players now that retention is more challenging? Billy Napier just pointed out, and if they have not used their 1-year transfer exemption, everyone is essentially a free agent at the end of the year. How have you modified and adjusted, or have you in these last 4
Well,
years?
the only thing I think we can do is, you know, continue to try to have the best program with the best support to create the most value in personal development, academic support, academic success with players, players' ability to, you know, develop in our program so that they can create value for their future as football players. You know, there's a stat out there, that our players since 2010 have made $1.7 billion playing in the NFL. So they created that value in developing. And I'm sure a lot of other players have made a lot of money playing, developing in a lot of other programs. So it's not singular to ours. But, so to get players to focus on that, and not just on, where they can go and, how much they can make, but, you know, the issue of the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness creates even a huger dynamic, in terms of, you know, players says, well, I'm just getting transfer portal and see if I can get more someplace else. So, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying that's the road that we're going down, because none of the players have really any contractual obligation at all to stay at a school. So we have to do the best we can to have the best possible program for them to have success in terms of personal development, academic support, career development, and, you know, development as football players. And hopefully there's people who see value in what they can create in the future, not just in maybe what they can make now. Not that I'm opposed at all to players making what they can make, you know, right now, but I do think you have to have some kind of way to create a national competitive balance.
Right here with Andy, we'll finish.
Has this system changed how you evaluate recruits in terms of like the mindset, competitive character part? For example, a guy who asks, how do I get developed so that I could get some of that 1.7 billion versus what can I make now?
Right. Well, you know, I think we present, you know, the fact that, you know, we want to do these things in terms of helping players develop, you know, personally, academically, and athletically. And I think, you know, there are some people out there that would choose that. There's some other people that might choose, you know, where can they make the best deal for themselves right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, everybody's gonna have to pick, you know, how they wanna try to manage this. And, you know, the question is this a sustainable model? I mean, can you continue to do this? And what are the team dynamics relative to how you manage this and how you do it when you don't have, you know, some kind of an equal form for every player on your team? But no, we haven't recruited any differently. But I just think that, you know, players will have an appeal for what they're looking for. And that may have changed because they have more options now.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
All right, thank you guys, appreciate it.